The Alpha Sessions with Ron Laver.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Alpha Sessions. My name's Ron Laver, and today I have Zoe Wren on the programme with me. Hello, Zoe. How are you today?
Hi, Ron. I'm very well, thanks. How are you?
Good. Yes, very good. Thank you. The last time we saw you on Alpha Sessions was around about 2018. And just reading some of your promo material, since starting as a London Underground busker, Zoe has played Cambridge Folk Festival, Purbeck, Sidmouth, and opening for Ralph McTell. You've been quite busy, haven't you? When we last spoke to you, you were actually at that stage of doing the busking on the London Underground. Bring us up to date. You've obviously moved on from that, and life and things have been quite successful for you.
Yeah, well, I don't busk anymore. It wasn't really a choice. It was something that happened when COVID hit. I stopped busking. And since then, I started live streaming actually, and that's been my main thing recently. I've also moved to Switzerland, so it's quite handy that I can do all of this online. But when I'm back in the UK, yes, I am. I'm always come back for a few weeks at a time and like jam pack my visits with gigs and festivals and collaborations and things like that, which is actually really fun, if a little exhausting. So this summer, yeah, I've had quite a few festivals, Sidmouth, and some festivals with my band Roswell. So we were at Beardy, and I'm now forgetting all the names. It feels like a lifetime ago, all the festivals, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, summer was nice. It was nice to get back out there.
So the move to Switzerland, what brought that about?
Well, my other half is he's actually half Swiss, and he's doing his master's in artificial intelligence at the university in Lugano here. And so I'd always wanted to try living abroad somewhere in Europe. And so I was like, right, let's do it. Let's do it. So I'm living a kind of dual life at the moment, or a nomadic life, I suppose, where although I live in Switzerland, I travel back to London and to the UK so much that I sort of have two homes at the moment. But as I was saying before, it's really lucky that so much of what I do is online now. And this studio that I'm sitting in was, honestly, if you saw it a couple months ago, it was just an empty room with peeling walls. It's just like this sort of really manky basement. So we spent weeks doing it up, all the DIY and everything, and turning it into this that I can use for all my music projects.
Well, you've done a fantastic job on it, because you did, of course, you posted some original photos of, as you say, what was a dank, manky old basement. It looks fabulous. So, and you've got it soundproofed and everything. So you've done really well. So is this your boyfriend's studying? But I mean, is this permanent or just a temporary move then to Switzerland? Is the plan to come back to the UK full time, or is that out for debate at the moment?
A little bit, yes. We're sort of taking it as it goes. He's got another year here, and then we'll have to see. At the moment, I don't mind not knowing. It's sort of fun. Like, where will I be in a year's time? Not sure, but we're going to run with it for now.
Sounds great. Yeah, sounds exciting. Yes, I noticed you've been involved with a dementia charity, Live Music Now. Can you tell us something about that?
Yeah, Live Music Now is a charity that I work with, and they bring music to people and to places that don't usually get high quality live music. So the main places that we go into are special educational needs schools, and then also care homes, often for older people with dementia. So I'm a musician with them, and so I have been going around doing concerts, interactive music sessions with people in these places, and I've been involved with them for about 3 years now, I think. And it's one of the most wonderful musical experiences that I have, because I find it very enriching as a musician, both in terms of being able to give an experience to people that wouldn't normally get something like this, but also just in the ways that it makes you think about the music. You have to really think about how you're engaging people, how you're communicating, sometimes with people that don't necessarily use language to communicate. So it's brilliant, and I've loved doing various concerts with them. It's been a lot online recently, but I've got to say the face-to-face stuff is what makes it really special.
And of course, I mean, it's sort of fairly well known that dementia patients, music is one of those things that they can relate to in terms of music, from their past. It seems to be a memory jerker for them, isn't it?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, there's been so many scientific studies that have proved this, but really you don't even need the studies, because when you go in and when you play music
You can tell.
you can tell. I've done a few residencies over the course of several months, really, and we would often have the same people coming back, and you'd really see changes, small changes. I can't, we're coming in once a week, but you do see that, and they'll remember music from their past and tell you songs that they used to sing. And yeah, you can have some really, really special moments doing that. Yeah.
And was there any particular reason why you chose that charity to support?
Well, I just heard about it from another sort of folk musician that I knew, and quite a few sort of early career musicians do sort of apply to be with them. It's really great because they give you training as well as giving you work with them. So it's just all around a really great thing for sort of young musicians who are starting out. So yeah, I would highly recommend.
Yeah, and jolly good work as well. So well done for that.
Mm.
You had a album out last year called Reckless River, and one of the reviews I read says that Zoe is now standing shoulder to shoulder with the best songwriters around. That's quite an accolade, isn't it?
Make me blush. Yeah, that had some really, really kind words about that album, actually.
There was a lot of good feedback on it.
Yeah, I just sort of, I've been working on these songs for over the course of quite a few years, and just, finally it was one of those things that over lockdown I was like, well, let's just get them all down and release it and see what happens.
Another one I read, which I know must have pleased you because I know it's one of your favourites, inflections in her high notes, which evoke Joni Mitchell at her very best. And I know you've said before that Joni is one of your sort of high influences.
Oh yeah, that was one of my favorite reviews to read. But like when I saw the Joni Mitchell line, I was like, yes, that's all I want, a comparison to Joni Mitchell. Yeah, no, she's a big influence of mine.
Yeah.
So that was really lovely to read.
On that album, you had a track called Cecilia, and you're going to play it for us today. And
Yeah, that's right.
I believe it's sort of based on the life of your Slovenian great grandmother, who at one time was going to be a nun.
Yeah, that's right. A sort of like Sound of Music-esque story there. So I never met my great grandmother, so I've just heard about her from my mum and from my grandma. And she went to like nun school. I don't know, like the convent, I guess, to train to become a nun. And that was what she really wanted to do. And then she fell very ill at home because they didn't think she was going to make it. But then against all the odds, she recovered. But then on her way back, or just as she was about to leave, a distant relative of the family died unexpectedly, leaving behind a wife and several young children. And so, much to her dismay, she was actually sent off to marry this man and to look after his children, to raise his children. And there were lots of, that kind of scuppered her plans of becoming a nun. And then there's this other kind of story that I heard about when she finally kind of got used to this new life that she had. She had a baby, a young girl, who sadly died very young, and she was absolutely distraught and was crying constantly every day, every night, until this one night she had a dream where her daughter came to her in this dream, and her nightdress was soaking wet. And she asked her, what's wrong? Why is your nightdress wet like this? And she said, it's because I'm soaked in the tears that you're crying. You can stop crying now and, leave me in peace. And that's when she kind of finally moved on from that. And then she went on to have my grandma and several other children. So it's this kind of amazing story. Really, like that scene to me was like, wow, that sounds like something out of an old English folk song. Do you know what I mean? Like some visions in the night and all of that. So I turned it into a song basically, and it's a song about how the best laid plans basically. You never know what life's going to throw at you, but if you live life with your heart full of love as she did, then good things will come of it. Cecilia walks through the cloisters alone. She's packed up her bags and they're sending her home. It seems God can't even save her now. But Cecilia knew she was stronger than that, so she fought for her life till once more she was ready to go. But heaven above only knows that nothing's as frail as the plans that we make. Is it life? Is it God? Is it chance? Is it fate? Oh, Cecilia, so much love in your heart. When news of her death came and knocked on the door, the poor wife of a far removed brother-in-law, they all cried, oh, pity those motherless babes. So Cecilia sent off to a man she's not known to care for his children like they were her own. And her dreams faded into the dark sky. For nothing's as frail as the plans that we make. Is it life? Is it God? Is it chance? Is it fate? Oh, Cecilia, so much love in your heart. What if you had the freedom to go your own way? Even then, was it truly your own? All the same, oh, Cecilia, so much love in your heart. As the years slipped away, she lost her old longing for yesterday. Then one morning she brought a baby girl to the world. When her daughter was lost, how Cecilia cried. She thought never again would her eyes become dry, till one night she appeared before her in her dream. Daughter, why is your night dress so cold and so wet? Oh, mother, I'm soaked in the tears that you shed, but it's time. You don't need to cry anymore, for nothing's as frail as the plans that we make. Is it life? Is it God? Is it chance? Is it fate? Oh, Cecilia, so much love in your heart. What if you had the freedom to go your own way? Even then, was it truly your own? All the same, oh, Cecilia, so much love in your heart.
The Alpha Sessions with Ron Laver.
You also sing as a duo with Jasmine Watkins and the pair of you are called Roswell. Tell us something about that. How did that come about?
Yeah, so I met Jasmine quite a few years back now. We just met sort of by chance through a mutual friend, and we were both looking to kind of do some kind of musical collaboration. She plays the fiddle and the ukulele, and she sings, and we're both a little bit obsessed with like harmonizing everything. And so we did like an open mic together and decided that we wanted to form a duo. So that's where Roswell came about. And it's been amazing. I've always wanted to play in a kind of like a a duo or sort of small band like that, with someone who I really clicked with musically, and I've really found that with her. And yeah, I mean, we've done a lot of festivals together. Our sort of first big kind of thing that sort of projected us on our way was winning Purbeck Rising, which is the kind of emerging artist competition of Purbeck Valley Folk Festival a few years back, and we've since done like Celtic Connections, Danny Carl stage, and we're going to be we haven't announced this yet, but never mind. We're going to be playing at Celtic Connections next year, which is very, very exciting.
Oh, fantastic!
And all sorts of exciting things coming up. So that's been going well, and it's been really fun as well.
I've only been to Celtic Connections once, and it was several years ago, but it was a fantastic event. And the bit I liked most was the sort of after sessions.
Oh yeah.
They have a sort of late night gathering.
Yes,
and
yes.
Just about anybody who's playing is can and does turn up, and I love those sessions.
Yeah, I've been to a couple of those. They're so fun, and you never know who's going to be on the bill. Sometimes they have really big artists there, and everyone's sort of just mingling. It's they're like one of the best bits of the festival, aren't they?
And also I find some of the people that you perhaps wouldn't have gone to see that, well, I don't really know that, don't fancy that, and then they'll pop in and you think, oh, that was good. I remember seeing it was a bagpipe band basically. I could never imagine in my life going to see a bagpipe band, but these guys have hundreds of them, and it
oh, wow.
for just I say hundreds,
Just imagining a stage filled with
there were a lot of them on
bagpipes.
stage, and yeah, they only did a couple of numbers, and that was probably enough. But,
and they didn't need microphones or anything.
No, but that was fantastic. Yeah, I like that. You've got a single out at the moment called "The Deep," and it's you quoted. I'm just looking for the quote here. That you said the song was an attempt to channel the darkness in our world into something a bit creepy and hopefully also beautiful and atmospheric. I'm calling it apocalyptic
apocalyptic cinematic folk. It was kind of a little tongue-in-cheek, I'll be honest, but it was this song was the first the first song where so my partner Tris and I we produce a lot of stuff together, and we kind of were like, what, we're really going to go for this production, and I'm going to make it, I'm not going to worry about how it would sound live, we're going to go for the sound that I really want for this song. And so I kind of cinematic in the sense that it's a bit more dramatic than the usual stuff that I've put out before, and there's all kinds of kind of cool, interesting sounds going on that aren't necessarily folky, but I think they work in the folky context.
It's a fantastic track, and also you released a video for it, which is so atmospheric. And I need to ask you, where was that filmed?
Yeah, it was a great venue. It's called Asylum Chapel. It's this place this chapel in South London that was sort of partially bombed in World War II, and they've restored it, kind of keeping it in its sort of dilapidated state. And yeah, it's so atmospheric. We just walked in on the day of the filming, and I was like, oh, this is amazing. I love it. Because I'd only seen photos before, but yeah, it's great.
And but how much of the idea for that video came from yourself?
Pretty much most of it, yeah. I knew I wanted it to be, I decided that I wanted to have a dancer in it, and one of my best friends from uni is a very talented contemporary dancer, and so I made it, I wanted to get her involved, and it was just, I just wanted it to be something that was sort of, almost like a painting come to life kind of thing, because it's all set in this one kind of space. And it's all about sort of like the light and the dark, and throughout the video she's wearing this dress, which kind of throughout we were increasingly ripping it and tearing it to shreds, and the dancing was becoming more sort of frenzied as it went, and it was a sort of I don't know, symbolic kind of sort of arc throughout the song. So yeah, we had a lot of fun with it, and I've got to give a shout out to my mum who was on costume and she was doing all the like tearing and ripping, and it was a lot of fun to do that actually.
It was a family affair, really.
It was a little bit, yeah. There's a chill in the evening, there's a whisper in the air, that the gates below are opening, and it's us that built them there. So we hide in our houses, but it only buys us time, while the earth around us crumbles, and the bells they softly chime. Won't you please shine a light through my window, for the stars have gone to sleep. Now the devil's outside and there's nowhere to hide, and I hear my name called from the deep. He stands in the shadows, and he wears a well-pressed shirt, and his shoes of shining leather press our faces in the dirt. There are countless more just like him, but one day we will be free. Till then I'll pick my battles and hope that he won't pick on me. Won't you please shine a light through my window, for the stars have gone to sleep. Now the devil's outside and there's nowhere to hide, and I hear my name called from the deep.
The Alpha Sessions with Ron Laver.
We mentioned earlier that you're very fond of Joni Mitchell, and when you've been on the show before, you've mentioned a lot of sort of 60s type artists that you grew up listening to. Now that you're sort of embedded in the British folk scene, I guess that's fair to say. Have you got sort of modern day people that influence you, or and you maybe aspire to?
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, so many influences. Sort of like one on the more sort of Americana side of the music that I like. I'm a big First Aid Kit fan. I love their harmonies and their kind of songwriting. I also love, I don't know, the more kind of, it's sort of, I guess it's more on the pop side, but a bit more, I don't really know how to describe it, but London Grammar, I love their music as well, and the kind of chords that they use. And I've been listening to a lot of Imogen Heap recently, actually, because I've been kind of doing I've been getting more into the looping that I'm doing on the Ableton Push that I've got here. So I'm kind of planning in my songwriting to go maybe in more of that kind of direction. So yeah, I've been listening to a lot of her because she's one of the greats at that. So yeah, all kinds of different influences for sure.
How would you describe your music then? Is it not pure folk? I mean, you mentioned Americana there. There's a bit of pop influence. I mean, how do you describe your genre?
Yeah, it's always a difficult question because although I would, if you want a quick answer, yeah, I'm a folk singer-songwriter. But no, like, how many people can actually describe themselves as, like pure folk? And if you're a singer-songwriter, you're not going to be just folk anyway. So, I guess I'd be, a mix of kind of a bit of like sort of indie, acoustic, a bit of Americana, I guess. Just all, I guess there are some pop influences. I definitely wouldn't call myself pop, but I have influences from there. And other places like, a little bit blues, a little bit of world, or things like that. And it all mashes together.
Yeah.
And I don't know exactly what I would necessarily.
I guess these days it is difficult to sort of label, isn't it? But people like to label it. And I go back to the beginning. I do think, I mean, I saw you down in Sidmouth in the summer, and we met up and said hello, and you really looked at home in that sort of folk surrounding. So I think that's a good base start anyway. You're also very prolific on Twitch particularly, and I mean, you do, I've seen you doing songs of various pop artists that you're sort of mashing up, or putting bits of track together. And as you say, the looping, that seems to be something that you're doing a lot on your online gigs. Is that something you bring to the live performance, or that you may bring to the live performance later?
So not yet, as of yet, but I'm actually that's kind of in my plans, because I'd love to be able to do this live. At the moment, I just don't have a laptop that's powerful enough, because I use a computer, like a PC here, and obviously I can't be carrying a massive computer to a gig. So yeah, as soon as I've got the right equipment, that is very much on the cards. I'd love to be able to do some looping live. It's a little bit more complicated because it's not like one of those foot pedals that you can just do to loop guitar, because it loops vocals as well. It can loop MIDI if you want. So there's a little bit more of an involved setup, but ultimately, yes, I would really like to be able to do that.
I mean, when I've watched, go on, sorry.
No, I was going to say that, throughout the last, year and a half of live streaming, it's actually become a really big part of my music making, more so than I would have ever thought when I first decided to try it out, a year and a half ago.
I've watched some of your live streams, and it seems to me you're juggling instruments, everywhere. As you say, you're a instrumentalist, and you're playing the keyboard, you're working the Ableton machine, you're grabbing a guitar, you're grabbing, it looks hard to do.
Yeah, it is. It's it's more multitasking than I'm used to, that's for sure. It's definitely like keeping my brain on its toes.
Yeah.
Especially with all the buttons on this thing. And honestly, I still do mess it up every now and then. And, sometimes you're just like, it's too much. But and then, I mean, I took up the bouzouki and the mandolin as well, which is, I mean, it's really two instruments for the price of one, because they have the same tuning and they're quite similar. So I got my bouzouki back there, which I can add in as well. And I had a brief stint on the flute, but I don't think anyone really wants to hear me on the flute. It's not a very pleasant sound.
And as you say, you do a lot of and that allows you to do a lot of harmonizing with yourself as well. With the loops. So, fantastic. The songs you've been singing today for us today, I think they seem to have a trend in terms of they start off with perhaps things that are looking a little bit bleak. The deep, certainly. That starts off very deep, but there's hope at the end. And CECILIA, about your great grandmother, that her life seemed to have sort of, well, this is it, I'm stuck here now. And then that had a happy ending. And also, you're going to sing one more track for us called Welcome Here. And that starts off with the opening, almost the opening line is, "You're not welcome here," and and then it lifts to sort of maybe a brighter thought about it. Is that something that you sort of think a lot about the way the world is today, which seems awful at times, but there's always hope? Is that a sort of, have we just picked 3 songs there that just show that, or?
No, that's actually a really good observation, because I'm now thinking through my songs, and that is definitely quite a common thread. Because the thing is, I write songs. I'm not so much of an introspective songwriter. I have a few songs like that, but mainly I like to write about the world and other people's stories and things that are going on, social issues, things like that. But and a lot of it is a bit bleak, but also I don't want to leave everyone miserable. Do you know what I mean? Like, we've got enough miserable songs in the world. So I think that there is always hope, and I think that's important, to bring that into a song. I mean, so this "Welcome Here," the song that you just mentioned, that's a song about homelessness, and about how I would experience as a busker, how people would treat homeless people who would be begging, asking for money on the underground, really in the same spaces that I was. And they walk past me, give me a smile, give me some money, and then they'd see someone sitting there who's clearly homeless, and they would just ignore them. And it's just a song about that. And I released it as a charity single for my last album. But that is bleak, but there's always hope, isn't there? So and I wanted the chorus. So the verses are a little bit more about how it is, but the choruses are a little bit more uplifting.
Yeah, I definitely think that comes across. We're gonna listen to that track in just a moment. But before we say cheerio and let you get on with life over there in Switzerland, what's planned for the future? More music releases, gigs? What's coming up, Zoe?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've definitely got a few more singles up my sleeve, which will be coming out in the months to come. And I'll probably be announcing another one fairly soon. And then in terms of gigs, my next sort of big gig is one with my trio. We're going to be at the Stables in Milton Keynes on. Can I just check my diary? I should have been a bit more prepared there. It's going to be on November the 26th. And then on November the 30th, I'm going to be at Dartford Folk Club with the Honeybees, which is a trio that I play in as well, with Adette Michelle and Amy Goddard. So those are my kind of two gigs that I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, and that the Stables is a beautiful venue.
Yeah. I love it.
I've been there quite a lot in my earlier life, when it was a bit more local to where I am now. But yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Okay.
No,
Well, look. Good luck with all that, and good luck with all you're doing and your music. I don't think you're going to need much luck, because you're doing really well. You've got a beautiful voice. Your music is lovely, and we're really proud to have you as a friend of Alpha Sessions. So maybe sometime in the not too distant future, we'll have you back at the studio as well.
Yeah, well, thank you so much, Ron. Thanks for having me. It's always a real pleasure to be with the Alpha Sessions. Yeah, thank you very much.
You're more than welcome. Thank you very much.
Cold blows the wind through the busy streets. Crowds hurry home as the sun disappears. There sits the man with a worn down face. He knows he's not welcome here. The street singer smiles as the coins rain down. Those cheerful cheers, these are guilt and our fear. We all turn our heads from the man on the ground, and he knows he's not welcome here. But there's a light in the dark. There's a song in the sound. There's a voice in the silence. And it's time we listen now. Who told us all that a desperate plea is just bad behavior that should disappear? And who made the rules on the price of life? Who said they're not welcome here? But there's a light in the darkness. There's a song in the sound. There's a voice in the silence. And it's time we listen now. Ooh. There's a light in the darkness. There's a song